along with it. And do you think that you got it right, as you explained several times, in the leasing of the state lands at that time?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I did say that because at the time, you'll recall that we were in the midst of the Great Recession, the biggest economic downturn since the Great Depression. The bottom fell out of the state's budget, and there was a huge hole that had to be filled. And one of the areas that was looked at to fill that hole was wholesale leasing of state forest land for West Shelbyville. And we actually did a first lease in 2008 that generated a net of $163 million. That money was quickly absorbed into the general fund to help plug the budgetary hole. And then subsequently, when I became secretary of the agency, DCR was ordered by the General Assembly to conduct 2 additional leases to raise an additional approximately $130 million, again, to plug the general fund budget hole. My issue with that at the time was that the agency did not have literally any experience with shale gas development, unconventional development on the state forest. We have a long history of balanced management of the state forest. We did a lot of leasing for conventional drilling and managed it very well. The agency didn't have the experience of conventional development. And in the process of that first lease, preparing that first lease of 73,000 or so acres, in our environmental review document, we indicated that the agency was comfortable doing that first lease and then wanted to understand the impacts of that leasing before considering any additional leasing. We weren't allowed to have that time to make a judgment, a reasoned judgment about the impacts of that development. We were essentially ordered subsequently to do 2 additional rounds of leasing. I will say, I was faced with that responsibility. That was a mandate that came out of budget negotiations. It was part of the budget legislation, so I was ordered to do it. But at the time, Governor Rendell was my boss, and the governor told me, get the gas, do it responsibly, do it with minimum impact. So the agency put an immense amount of effort into trying to get it right, based on our limited experience. And I think everybody involves over time. But knowing what we knew then, we did a couple of things. First, we put together a new lease doc, a new 73-page document. It was worked collaboratively with the industry. We inserted some business protections in exchange for some additional environmental protections. It was a balanced approach that I think resulted in the most protected lease on paper of any public land manager in the country. The second thing that we did was to start the design of a monitoring program in order to really understand the long-term impacts of this development as they unfold over time, the cumulative impacts. We had to have a monitoring system. So I challenged the agency to design a monitoring program and convinced the governor at the time to unfreeze the hiring freeze that was in place. We had 18 additional people, and then subsequently those positions were filled and the monitoring program was commenced under the Corps of Administration. And the first report of that effort came out last year that provided the first set of data on impacts to the state forest. The other thing that we did was to conduct an analysis at the end of my time in DCR in 2010 on what would be the impacts of additional leasing on the state forest, given what we knew then, given the 133,000 or so, 138,000